I always believed that family meant safety, that no matter what happened, your parents would protect you, and your sister would stand by your side. But I was wrong, because the same people who taught me to share everything were the ones who later tried to take everything I owned. Even my home. My name is Elena. I grew up in a small but happy-looking family. My mom, dad, and my younger sister, Maya. On the outside, we looked perfect. Dad was a quiet man who worked at a local hardware store. Mom ran a little bakery from home, and Maya, she was the golden child, sweet, charming, and loved by everyone. But me? I was the responsible one, the one who cleaned up, studied hard, and made sure things stayed together. I didn't complain, not when Maya broke things and blamed me, not when my parents excused her behavior with, "She's younger, Elena." You have to understand. I understood, too well, that in our family love wasn't equal. Still, I kept believing that one day things would be different. When I turned 22, I started working full-time at a design firm. I saved money, helped pay bills, and slowly began building a dream, to buy a small house for myself and my parents. It was nothing fancy, just a cozy 2-bedroom place with a little garden in the back. But to me, it meant freedom. The day we moved in, my parents hugged me proudly. Mom said, "We're so proud of you, Elena. You're such a good daughter." Even Maya smiled and said, "Wow, my big sister really did it." For a moment, I felt seen, like maybe all the years of sacrifice finally mattered. But I didn't realize that house, the one I worked for, the one I dreamed about, would soon become the reason my own family turned against me. At first, everything was peaceful. Mom filled the kitchen with the smell of freshly baked bread. Dad spent weekends fixing the fence. And Maya, well, she stayed with us temporarily. At least, that's what she said. She had just broken up with her boyfriend and needed a few weeks to get back on her feet. I didn't mind. She was my sister, after all. I told her, "Stay as long as you need." But weeks turned into months. And months. Into nearly a year. She never got a job, never paid rent, never lifted a finger to help around the house. And somehow, she always found ways to make me look like the bad one. If I asked her to clean her mess, she'd roll her eyes and say, "You're so uptight, Elena. Relax. It's just a house. Just a house." Those words stung more than she knew. Because it wasn't just a house, it was my dream, my sacrifice, my home. Then, small things began disappearing. My jewelry, some savings I kept in a drawer. When I asked about it, Maya laughed and said I was paranoid. Even Mom said, "Maybe you misplaced it, honey. You work too much. You're probably just tired." But I wasn't tired. I was starting to see clearly. One night, I overheard something that froze my blood. Maya was in the kitchen, whispering on the phone. Her voice was low, but I could hear enough. "Yeah, I'm still here. Dad said they'll put the house in my name soon." "Don't worry, put the house in her name?" I felt my stomach twist. That house was legally mine. I had the loan, the paperwork, the proof. But I also knew how persuasive Maya could be, especially with my parents. I walked into the kitchen. She jumped, startled. "You scared me," I said quietly. "Who were you talking to?" She smirked. "None of your business." And for the first time, I felt something shift inside me. A cold, burning anger. The next morning, I tried to talk to Mom. "Did Maya say anything to you about the house?" Mom's smile faded. "Elena, please don't start again. You know your sister has nowhere else to go." "That's not what I asked," she sighed. "We were just discussing options. Maybe adding her name to the house will make her feel secure." "Secure?" I snapped. "Mom, I bought this house. I'm paying the loan. Why would she need her name on it?" Dad stepped in. His voice was calm but cold. "Because she's family, Elena. You should share everything with your sister. That's what we taught you. Share everything." The same words they'd said since childhood, when Maya broke my toys, stole my clothes, or took credit for things I did. And once again, they expected me to stay silent. But this time, I wouldn't. A few weeks later, I came home early from work. The house was strangely quiet. Then I heard laughter. My parents and Maya in the living room, papers spread out on the table. When I got closer, I froze. It was the house deed. And Maya was holding a pen. I rushed in. "What are you doing?" Mom looked startled. Dad frowned. "Elena, calm down. We're just sorting out some legal adjustments." "Legal adjustments?" I repeated, my voice shaking. "You're transferring the house to her?" Maya smirked. "Relax, it's just paperwork." I couldn't breathe. "That's my house. My name is on the loan, the title." Dad's tone turned sharp. "Enough, Elena! This family doesn't need selfishness. You have a good job. Your sister doesn't. Be mature and help her." That's when it hit me. They weren't asking. They were deciding for me. Something inside me broke. I looked at my sister, the smirk on her face, the satisfaction in her eyes, and I realized this wasn't just about money or a house. It was about control, about how all my life I'd been the quiet, obedient daughter who never fought back. But not anymore. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in my room, replaying everything. The whispers, the manipulation, the betrayal. They said I should share everything, but what they really meant was give up everything. I went to the kitchen, looked around at the house I built, and made a silent promise. "You want to take my home? Fine, but you'll lose something much bigger, my silence." Over the next few days, I acted normal. I smiled, I cooked. I even helped Maya pick out decorations for her future room. All while quietly gathering every piece of proof I needed, the purchase documents, bank transfers, and legal records. Then I made a call. To my friend, Laura, a real estate lawyer. When I told her everything, she was stunned. "Elena, this is serious. They can't just transfer ownership without your consent. But you need to be careful. If they're planning something, they might try to forge or manipulate paperwork." Her words sent chills down my spine. Forge paperwork? Would my own family go that far? I wanted to believe they wouldn't, but deep down, I knew the answer. 2 days later, while I was at work, Laura called me urgently. "Elena, I checked the property registry today. Someone submitted a transfer request under your name." I felt my heart drop. "What do you mean, under my name?" "It means someone tried to sign for you. A forged signature." I already froze the process, but whoever did this, they were close to you. My phone slipped from my hand. When I got home that night, Maya was sitting in the living room, scrolling through her phone like nothing happened. I looked at her, trying to steady my voice. "Did you forge my signature, Maya?" She glanced up, smiling faintly. "Oh, please, don't be dramatic. Answer me." She laughed. "You always make things so serious." "It's just a house, Elena. You'll get over it." I stared at her. The sister I once protected, the girl I shared my childhood with, and realized she wasn't my sister anymore. She was a stranger wearing her face. And that night, I made a decision that would change everything. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd show them what it feels like when the quiet one finally fights back. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. The house was still quiet, peaceful even. You'd never guess it was full of people who had just betrayed me. As I made my coffee, I stared at the walls, at the photos of us smiling together. It felt fake now. Every laugh, every family moment, every birthday. All of it felt like a lie built on guilt and control. I didn't cry. Not this time. I felt something else, a calm, cold focus. For years, I had been the responsible one. The daughter who forgave, who kept peace, who did everything to make others happy. But they took that kindness as weakness. And now they were going to learn what it felt like when I stopped playing their perfect daughter. Before leaving for work, I took pictures of every document in my drawer. The property purchase, loan agreements, payment receipts, and title papers. Then I locked the originals away in a small safe box at my office. If my family wanted to play games, I'd make sure I held every card. At work, I could barely focus. My mind replayed that scene again and again, Maya signing papers, my parents sitting silently beside her, acting like it was normal. They wanted to erase me from my own life, but they didn't know what I had planned. That evening, I went to meet Laura. She was waiting in a small cafe downtown, her laptop open. Elena, she said as I sat down, I've confirmed everything. They forged your signature on the transfer documents, but luckily, the system flagged a mismatch. You're safe for now. But you need to act fast. What do? I asked. She sighed. File a preventive ownership protection claim. It'll legally mark your property as under dispute, meaning no changes can be made without your consent. It also gives you grounds to press charges if they try again. For a moment, I hesitated. Press charges? Against my own parents and sister? Laura looked at me gently. I know it's hard, but if they're willing to take your home, what do you think they'll do next? I sat in silence. She was right. They'd already crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. When I got home that night, I found Maya sitting with Mom in the living room, laughing at something on her phone. As soon as I entered, the laughter stopped. Mom gave me a look, soft but sharp underneath. Elena, we need to talk. I nodded slowly. About the house? Dad came out from the kitchen. His voice was calm, too calm. We just think it's unfair that Maya has no security. You have your job, your life. Why can't you let her feel included? Included? I repeated quietly. You mean give her what she didn't earn? Dad frowned. Don't talk like that. You're being selfish. Selfish. The word echoed in my head like poison. I looked at them one by one. My parents, who always favored her, and my sister, who looked smug, confident that they'd take her side. Then I said softly, You know what? You're right. Maya raised an eyebrow. Wait, what? You're right, I repeated. I should make things easier. You all want the house? Fine, let's make it official. Their faces lit up in surprise. Mom smiled, relieved. Oh, sweetheart, I knew you'd understand. But, I interrupted, we're doing it legally. We'll visit my lawyer tomorrow and finalize everything together. You'll get what you deserve. In writing. For a split second, Maya's confidence faltered. She wasn't expecting that. She said cautiously, yeah, sure. Whatever. That night, I stayed up, finalizing my plan. The truth was, I wasn't going to give them anything. I just wanted them to walk straight into their own trap. The next morning, we went to Laura's office. She greeted everyone politely and started reviewing the documents. She asked Maya for her ID, my parents for theirs, and quietly photocopied everything. Then she said, before proceeding, I'll need to verify property ownership and check if any forged attempts were made in the past week. I saw the color drain from Maya's face. What do you mean, forged attempts? She asked, her voice shaking slightly. Laura smiled professionally. Just standard procedure. Then she turned to me and said, Elena, would you like to confirm for the record that you never authorized a signature or transfer request? I met Maya's eyes as I said, yes, I never did. Mom frowned. Wait, what's going on? Laura looked up. It appears someone tried to transfer the property using a forged signature. We've already submitted the evidence to the property authority. Once they investigate, they'll notify all parties involved. The room went silent. Maya stammered, This is ridiculous. But Laura cut her off. We have the handwriting samples, and the timestamps show the document came from this address. I watched as my parents slowly turned toward Maya, their faces pale. Mom whispered, Maya, tell me you didn't. She froze. Her lips trembled. I was just trying to help. Dad's voice cracked. Help? You tried to steal from your sister? She glared at me. You made me do it. You always act like you're better than everyone else. Her words hit me like a slap, but I didn't react. I just looked at her calmly and said, No, Maya, I just stopped letting you walk over me. The meeting ended awkwardly. My parents didn't say a word as we left the building. Maya stormed ahead, humiliated. For once, she wasn't the favorite. For once, they saw her for who she really was. That evening, I packed a small bag and left the house. I didn't tell them where I was going, just left a note that said, I need space. For a week, I stayed at Laura's place, avoiding calls and messages. I needed distance, silence, and clarity. When I finally returned, the house was a mess. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table, red-eyed. Dad was pacing. Maya was gone. Mom looked at me and said quietly, She moved out. She said we turned against her. I wanted to feel pity, but I couldn't. Not after everything. Dad sighed. We're sorry, Elena. We thought she just needed help. We didn't realize. I nodded, saying nothing. Forgiveness wasn't something I could give right away. That night, I went to my room, my space, my home, and closed the door. For the first time in months, I felt peace. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over, because Maya wasn't the type to give up easily. And as I drifted off to sleep, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared on the screen. You think you've won, Elena? This isn't over. My heart pounded as I stared at the message. I didn't know where she was or what she was planning. But one thing was clear. My sister wasn't done, and neither was I. The message kept replaying in my mind. You think you've won, Elena? This isn't over. I stared at it for a long time, my hands trembling slightly. It didn't surprise me, not really. That tone, that arrogance, it was exactly how Maya always spoke when she didn't get her way. But this time there was something darker behind it. A quiet rage that made my stomach twist. For days, nothing happened. The house was silent, almost too silent. Mom kept herself busy with baking, like she always did when she was stressed. Dad avoided eye contact whenever I was around. I could feel their guilt hanging in the air like thick fog. But I didn't say anything. I was done explaining myself. Then one afternoon, I got a call from my bank. Ms. Carter, the woman on the phone said, we've noticed several recent attempts to access your online account. Were those made by you? My chest tightened. No, I said quietly. They weren't. Don't worry, she continued. We've locked the account and flagged the activity, but whoever it was knew your personal details. I hung up and sat on the edge of my bed, my heart pounding. Whoever it was knew my details. That could only mean one thing. Maya. She knew everything. My passwords, my documents, even my security questions. We grew up in the same house. She'd seen me write things down, overheard me say answers out loud. She knew exactly how to hurt me. That night, I called Laura again. She's trying to mess with my bank now, I said, trying to stay calm. Laura sighed. Elena, you need to file a digital protection complaint too. This isn't just family drama anymore. It's targeted fraud. I know, I said. But she's my sister. How do I even begin to explain this to people? It just sounds insane. Laura's voice softened. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Just protect yourself. Emotionally, financially, everything. Her words echoed in my mind. Protect yourself. A few days later, Mom told me something that made my blood run cold. Maya called, she said hesitantly. She said she's sorry. She just wants to talk. I stared at her. Talk? After she forged my signature and tried to steal my home? Mom looked guilty. She's still your sister, Elena. Maybe she's changed. I shook my head. She hasn't changed, Mom. She's just planning her next move. But despite everything, a small part of me, the part that still remembered the little girl who used to share a blanket with me during storms, wanted to believe her. So when Maya texted me later that night, I replied, if you really want to talk, come by tomorrow. But this time, we do it in the open, in front of Mom and Dad. She agreed. The next evening, she arrived. Same smirk, same perfume. But there was something new, a sharpness in her eyes, like she was studying me. She sat down at the table, crossed her arms, and said, I just wanted to say sorry. For everything. I went too far. Mom looked relieved. See? She's admitting it. But I could feel it. Her words were hollow. Her voice too smooth. Too practiced. I said nothing, just stared at her. After a pause, she reached into her bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I brought something to make it right, she said. It's a written apology. And a withdrawal letter from the property claim. I figured you'd want proof. For a second, I almost believed her. But when I looked closer at the paper, I noticed something off. The letterhead. It wasn't printed on regular paper. It looked like an official document, the kind used in property filings. And the signature section at the bottom was blank. What is this, Maya? I asked slowly. She smiled. Just sign it. It's for the record. It'll clear both our names. Laura's warning echoed in my mind. If they're planning something, they might try to forge or manipulate paperwork. I leaned back, keeping my voice calm. You want me to sign this without reading it? Maya shrugged. It's just formal stuff. Don't you trust me? I almost laughed. No, not anymore. Her expression hardened. Then you'll regret it. She stood up, crumpling the paper in her hand, her fake calm breaking. You think you can embarrass me? Make me look like a criminal? I stood too, matching her tone. You did that yourself. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper only I could hear. You have no idea what I can do, Elena. And then she was gone, slamming the door so hard it shook the frame. After she left, Mom looked shaken. Elena, maybe you should just... Stop, I said quietly. Stop making excuses for her. She's not some lost little girl anymore. She's dangerous. That night, I installed security cameras, small, hidden ones around the house. I didn't tell my parents. I just needed to be sure, and within 2 nights, I had my answer. At 2:47 a.m., the motion detector alert went off. I opened the camera app on my phone, half asleep, and froze. There she was, Maya, standing in the hallway, inside my house. She moved quietly, looking around, checking drawers, glancing into rooms. Then she slipped something into her jacket pocket, a small USB drive that had been on my desk earlier. I watched, numb. My own sister sneaking into my home like a thief. I didn't call the police right away. Instead, I waited until she left, then checked the camera footage again to be sure. It was her. No doubt. The next morning, I called Laura once more. I have video proof, I said. She broke in. Laura exhaled slowly. Elena, this isn't just family trouble anymore. File a report. You have to. And this time I didn't hesitate. I went to the police station, filed the report, handed over the footage. The officer looked at me and said, You did the right thing. But even after that, I couldn't sleep. Because I knew Maya. She wouldn't stop. She'd come back in some other way. 2 days later, I was proven right. My manager at work called me into his office. Elena, he said, frowning, we received an anonymous complaint about you. Something about misusing company funds. My stomach dropped. That's not true, he nodded. I figured, but we have to investigate. Until then, you're on temporary leave. When I walked out of that office, I already knew who was behind it. Maya was trying to destroy my life piece by piece, but what she didn't realize was that every step she took was digging her own grave, because I was documenting everything. The calls, the texts, the footage, even her message to my boss that I later traced back to her email. And when the time came, I was going to use every single piece of it. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about taking back my life, the one she tried to ruin. 3 weeks later, I got the call I'd been waiting for, Detective Hall from the precinct. His tone was calm but direct. Elena, we've reviewed your report, the security footage, and the evidence you provided. We've also confirmed a pattern of unauthorized access attempts on your accounts, all traced to an IP address registered under your sister's name. For a second, I couldn't breathe. So it's official? It's official, he said. We'll be issuing a restraining order, and our cyber unit will handle the fraud case. You've done the right thing collecting this evidence. I hung up and sat there in silence. Relief should have washed over me, but instead I felt empty, because it wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about realizing that my own sister had crossed a line she could never come back from. That night, I decided I wasn't going to hide anymore. Maya had spent months twisting everything, turning my life upside down, painting herself as the victim. Now I wanted the truth to come out, all of it. So I did something she'd never expect. I made everything public. I posted screenshots, recordings, even the footage of her breaking into my house. Not on social media, but on a private family forum where our relatives could see it. For years, they'd believed Maya's lies. They thought I'd stolen her inheritance, pushed her out of the house, ruined her life. Within hours, the messages started coming in. Elena, I had no idea. She told us you locked her out. We're so sorry. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like the truth finally breathing after being buried too long. But Maya didn't stay quiet for long. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls from her. Then one final message popped up. You think humiliating me makes you safe? Watch what happens next. I locked my phone, trying not to shake. But deep down, I knew what that meant. She was desperate now. And desperate people are dangerous. That evening, I came home from the grocery store and noticed something strange. The front door was slightly open. My first thought was that I'd forgotten to lock it, but when I stepped inside, I realized it wasn't that simple. The living room was a mess. Drawers open. Papers everywhere. She'd been here, again. But this time she didn't get far, because I had upgraded the cameras. And not just inside. There were 2 new ones outside, too. I opened the app and watched the footage. There she was, again, wearing a hooded jacket, sneaking around like a ghost. But this time, I wasn't the only one watching, because I'd already set up an auto backup to a private drive linked directly to Detective Hall. Every time the cameras recorded motion, it sent him a copy automatically. Within the hour, police cars pulled up in front of my house, blue and red lights flashing against the night sky. I stood by the window, watching as they led Maya out in handcuffs. She didn't look angry. She didn't even look surprised. Just empty, like someone who'd finally run out of things to destroy. When the officers drove away, I sat on the couch and stared at the wall for a long time. The house was silent again, but it wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of silence that comes after a storm, when everything looks the same, but nothing really is. A few days later, Detective Hall called me again. She confessed to most of it, he said. The forgery, the break-ins, even the false complaint at your workplace. She said she just wanted to even the score. I let out a quiet laugh. Even the score? She took everything. She's facing multiple charges, he continued. You won't have to worry about her for a long time. After that call, I finally exhaled. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. When I woke up the next morning, sunlight filled the room. Warm, quiet, safe. I made coffee, opened the curtains, and stood there for a moment, just breathing. And then, my phone buzzed one last time. It was a message. From an unknown number. She told me to deliver something if she didn't come back. Check your mailbox. My heart stopped. Slowly, I walked outside, barefoot, the morning air cold against my skin. Inside the mailbox was a small envelope with my name written in her handwriting. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single flash drive, and a note that said only, "The truth isn't what you think." My hands started shaking again. Because after everything, after all the chaos, the lies, and the pain, Maya still had one last secret. I sat there staring at the flash drive for nearly 10 minutes, my heartbeat pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. After everything Maya had done, I should have thrown it straight into the trash. But I couldn't, because despite the betrayal, despite the hate, a small, terrified part of me still needed to know what she meant. The truth isn't what you think. Those words repeated in my mind like an echo. So I plugged it into my laptop. The screen blinked, and a single video file appeared, untitled, just a date. A date that made my stomach twist. It was from 6 months before everything fell apart. I hit play. The video opened with a shaky view of our old living room, the one before I redecorated. Maya's voice was quiet behind the camera. I just want proof, she whispered. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Then she turned the camera toward 2 people sitting on the couch. My parents. They were arguing in low voices, and at first I couldn't make out what they were saying. Then I heard it. She doesn't need to know the house isn't really hers, my father said. If she finds out, it'll destroy her, my mother replied. We'll transfer everything to Maya's name first. We can say it's temporary. She trusts us. I froze. My chest went cold. It wasn't Maya who'd started the lie. It was them. They'd planned to move the property under Maya's name, temporarily, before I even knew. Maybe Maya found out and thought I was in on it. Maybe that's why she hated me so much. I felt dizzy. I could barely breathe as the video continued. My mother's voice trembled. "I just want both girls to be safe," she said. "But Elena, she's too soft. She'll give everything away if we let her handle it." Then the screen went black. I sat in silence for a long time. Every piece of anger I'd felt toward Maya. Every tear I cried thinking she was just cruel for no reason. Suddenly felt heavier, more complicated. Yes, she'd done terrible things. But now I saw how it started. She'd been lied to, too. Manipulated, just differently. I thought about all the times she accused me of taking what was hers. Maybe, from her point of view, she truly believed that. Because our parents had twisted the truth long before either of us understood what they were doing. I didn't defend her actions. She still destroyed my trust, my job, my peace. But I couldn't hate her in the same way anymore. I couldn't hate her knowing she'd been fighting a war she thought I started. I closed the laptop and walked to the window. The sky outside was gray, heavy with rain. It reminded me of that first day, the day they said, "Family means sharing everything." Now I realized what they really meant. They didn't mean sharing love or trust or kindness. They meant sharing the weight of their lies. I made a decision that day. I wasn't going to live under that shadow anymore. I called the detective and told him about the video. He said it might complicate the case but could also give context to Maya's behavior. I didn't care about that anymore. I just wanted it documented. The truth, finally out in the open. That night, I packed a small bag. Just essentials. My plan wasn't to run away. It was to start over. Somewhere quiet, somewhere I could think. I found a small cabin for rent about 2 hours outside the city. As I drove, memories of childhood flashed through my mind. Laughter, birthdays, the way Maya and I used to whisper secrets under our blankets. Somewhere along the way, we both lost that version of ourselves. Maybe because no one ever taught us what love without manipulation looked like. When I arrived, the air felt cleaner, lighter. For the first time in months, I didn't feel watched. I didn't feel cornered. Over the next few weeks, I wrote, not for anyone else, just for myself. Everything I remembered, everything I felt. The truth from my side. I wanted to make sure that even if no one ever read it, I would never forget how it felt to stand up, to fight back, to survive it all. Then one afternoon, a letter came. No name on the envelope, just a correctional facility address. My heart skipped. I knew who it was from. I opened it. "Elena, I don't expect forgiveness. But I wanted you to know I watched the video too. I didn't know they planned it like that. I thought you and Mom worked together to steal everything. I was wrong. You were right. I let my anger turn me into someone else. I can't undo what I did, but I hope one day you'll find peace. Maybe we both will. Maya?" Tears slipped down my face as I finished reading. Not because I forgave her completely, but because I finally understood. We were both victims, just in different ways. Months passed. The case closed. I decided to sell the house, the same one that started all of this. It wasn't a home anymore, just a monument to everything broken. I used part of the money to move abroad, somewhere quiet by the sea. Now, when people ask me why I live alone, I smile and say, because peace is priceless. Sometimes at night, I still dream of that house, the arguments, the laughter, the betrayal. But I always wake up before it turns into a nightmare. Because now I know how it ends. It doesn't end with revenge. It ends with truth, and sometimes that's the most powerful kind of justice there is.